Oh, I didn't know it said that now. All right, good evening, ladies. I hope that you all had a very memorable and meaningful Memorial Day weekend. Well, you guys all know me, but I'm Amy. Hi. And I just want to thank you before we get started for taking time tonight to join me on this call as I share my heart. This is a little bit different team call. And this topic of using life's challenges to kind of catapult our growth is very personal. And I'll be sharing some challenges that I've experienced and how I've used them as growth opportunities. But I'm not here to define what a challenge is, a life challenge. Hold on, I'm actually going to get my little presentation up and running here. Hold on, screen share. All right, you guys can see it, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Move this so I can get to this. All right. There we go. Up and going. But yeah, so I'm not gonna define what a life challenge is, because for each of us, they're personal. Hard is hard, right? And challenges come in all different forms, whether it's circumstantial, relational, mental, emotional, physical. There's spiritual challenges, financial challenges, and we all face them and we can all grow through them. We are not defined by our past, but we are prepared by our past. With the right mindset and positioning our heart to grow through the challenges, I pray that each of you will see, feel, and understand that whatever season you find yourself in right now or later down the road, that it's equipping you and it's preparing you for the life that you still have to live up. So a little bit of a backstory. My growth journey began about 8.5 years ago when I was faced with a life-changing hardship. When my oldest daughter, Nevaeh, was 2.5, she's now almost 11, her father was killed in a car accident, and I was suddenly faced with trying to navigate life as a solo mom. All of my dreams for our future were shattered, and yet here I was trying to figure out how to put the pieces back together. I was at my rock bottom, emotionally and financially. In this season, I leaned into my faith versus pushing God away, and I began to grow in my faith as I learned to grow through the pain and the messiness of grief. It was right around that entering into year 2 after his passing, that was actually harder than year 1. Everything that I had suppressed was starting to surface as I allowed myself to feel. So it was right around 13 months after his passing that I was ready to start taking care of myself. I didn't want to keep living in this survival mode. And so on a whim, I joined Sarah's first challenge group right when 21 Day Fix launched. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, but wow, I didn't realize how much I needed this. The tools, the resources, sweating it out, time in the kitchen, and the community of women, it really became my therapy. I started to feel good. I started to feel happy. I started to smile, a real smile again. And I was no longer in this surviving mode. I was actually starting to feel myself thriving. So long story short, after ignoring Sarah's invitation to coaching, which only lasted a few days, I became a coach so that I could pay this opportunity forward and so that I could start climbing my way up from my financial rock bottom. Over the past 7.5 years of coaching, I've had many personal and professional wins, but the greatest victory is how through this opportunity and through this journey, I have been equipped with the tools and the resources, and I've gained the courage, drive, and strength to grow through many challenging seasons. Financial, professional, moving, pregnancy, Nevaeh being diagnosed with type 1, that entering that newborn life again, and now I'm in another season, a challenge that's relational as I am transitioning into single mom life again. But I've learned things over the years that I've been able to implement into my life that has helped me not give up on my dreams. It's helped keep a hope, this sense of hope in my heart, and to grow through each challenging season. So, what's that first thing? Well, first off, if you don't have a life verse or a quote to live by, pick one. Take time to pick one and embody it. Yes, I know that we've all heard about people picking a word for the year, but I'm talking bigger, deeper. After Ty's passing, my aunt shared this verse with me, and it has been the foundation in which I stand on now. When life gets hard, I find peace and comfort knowing that that hard is actually helping me to prosper for that next season. So what's your verse? What's your quote that you will lean into when you're faced with a challenge? Take some time to pick one or two if you need to. And if you need this to be your life verse, we can share it. Another thing that I've learned over the years in different seasons of challenges is how important it is to set boundaries. Life can be downright hard. Different situations and challenges call for different boundaries. If you're in a financial challenge, learn to set boundaries on your spending. If you're in a season of mental and emotional hardship, struggle, challenges, set boundaries with who and what you allow into your space. There was a season where I was finding myself doing the comparison game, and that kind of sparks up every now and then. I know that you've probably all experienced it. So I started setting boundaries with who I was following on social media. If they weren't serving me and they were causing me to get into this negative headspace, unfollow. Relational. It's okay to set boundaries with who you allow into your life. I am learning that. Although you might be saying no to something or someone, and that might come off as kind of negative, but in reality, when you say no, you're actually saying yes. Make room for the happiness in the midst of hardship in your life. Build margin into your schedule and give yourself room to breathe, to just be, to be in that season and open yourself up to it and what the lesson that might be presenting itself. I love this verse too. Guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. That's Proverbs 4:23. There are so many personal development books that can help you navigate and how to set healthy boundaries. In regards to the comparison game, I love the book by Rachel Cruz called Love Your Life, Not Theirs. I'm a huge Dave Ramsey, nerd alert. So if you're finding yourself in a season of financial hardships, lean into his tools and resources to help you learn how to navigate through that and grow through it. Complacency. I'm going to speak more now from a place regarding coaching. One of the great dangers we face is learning how and forgetting why. I recently read that in the book, Draw the Circle. And how many of you have ever felt complacent, stuck, questioned whether or not coaching was right for you? This isn't working. That right there is a life challenge that many of us have or will experience to some degree through our coaching journey. I believe this opportunity is right. This opportunity can work and serve you and your family in a variety of ways. But I also agree with Mark. We can learn, know the how, but if we don't continue to stay emotionally connected to our why, we enter dangerous territory. This is when I see people lean away from coaching versus leaning into their why to help them grow through the challenge of complacency. Do learn. If you're feeling stuck or losing that fire, go for growth. We are not the experts, which thank God we don't have to be. But why not go after getting the Ultimate Portion Fix and 2B Mindset Coach certification? A little piece of credential. I bet by going through that certification, it will decrease your doubts and increase your confidence in leading your clients. You don't have to go out and get all the bells and whistles and do a bunch of like trainings, but why not do that as a starting point for growth? Tap into personal development that's going to stretch you. I have made a vow for this year and probably for the rest of my life that personal development will always have a faith base moving forward. I want to hear his truth of who I am and what he is calling me to do. So tap into something that's going to stretch you. Get excited about your own wellness journey. If you're not excited in your own journey right now, your own wellness journey, how are others going to be excited about coming into what it is, into your circle? Do something different. Get out of your routine that you might be kind of stuck in and get emotionally connected to your why. I'm going to say that again. Get emotionally connected to your why. Like that life verse, embody your why. When your circumstances don't change, that's often an indication that God is trying to change you. Embrace it. Embrace the change. Another thing that I've learned over the 7.5 years of seasonal changes and challenges is define and be okay with redefining what success means to you. Again, speaking from a coaching standpoint, we will face so many challenges throughout our coaching career. It's inevitable. One of my greatest challenges that I recently had a breakthrough with was redefining what success means to me. I found myself getting stuck and not experiencing growth in a way that I was hoping for, it was because I was leaning too much into the benchmarks set by Beachbody, and then feeling like a failure when certain benchmarks continued to not be met. I lost sight of the fact that even though I have lost sight at the fact that even though I may not have earned the higher star diamond statuses, or I may never achieve elite or the legacy club, I'm still successful. This breakthrough came late last year into the start of this new year while reading a book called You're Made for a God-Sized Dream, and the devotional that coincides with it, Opening the Door to Your God-Sized Dream. I am successful. I have earned so much time freedom, and my bonuses have been paid in the form of memories that I've been able to create with my girls. I have gained the courage to take ownership of my life. That's amazing, right? Since reading those 2 pieces of personal development, I've had this renewed clarity of what success looks like and feels like for me. And this sense of holy confidence that I will succeed in achieving my God-sized dream. The benchmarks set by Beachbody are amazing. We need them, but they're a tool and they provide guidance and direction. However, my success is not defined solely on the benchmarks of Beachbody. I am made for so much more. And friends, give yourself that same sense of freedom. Redefine what success looks like, feels like for you. And I have the utmost confidence that this will open the door to so much more growth and will help you overcome any business-related challenges moving forward. Joy in becoming. So when I talk with my clients about their wellness journey, one thing that I try really hard to help them grasp is that this is a transformation journey that stretches far beyond the physical. This is more than just pushing play and improving our nutrition. We will face challenges in our wellness journey, in our faith journey, in our relationships, in our finances, etc. But that is part of the process. That is part of life. It's actually quite beautiful when you have that growth mindset and position your heart to embrace the process and the messiness of who you are becoming. So I have a question. How will God use us? Here's a gut check moment. If you gave up on your why and your dream, because of whatever challenge might be happening in your life, who else are you giving up on? Recently, I received this letter. It was mailed anonymously. I have no idea who it came from or how they got my address. If I would have given up in the midst of the gazillion challenges that have presented themselves versus leaning in and growing through them, this person may not have been able to overcome his or her own challenge because I wouldn't have been sharing my journey. So we never know who will be inspired or how God will use us. That should be motivation and inspiration in itself to press forward, to keep growing. So when this season passes, what's next? These pictures kind of come from different seasons in my life and different challenges, navigating single mom life with Nevaeh, her being diagnosed, pregnancy, postpartum, all that jazz with Alicia, this season of growth that my sister and I are having now that we've partnered together, and now I'm navigating single mom life with my girls. And I've shared this a few times on different coach glimpse calls about how coaching has impacted my life. And I'm not going to downsize the fact that I'm very proud of the business that I've built. And I truly love what I get to do. I'm grateful that God has called me to serve. Each season is equipping me for the next. And that goes for you too. Whatever season you find yourself in, it's equipping you for what's to come, your future. But my greatest accomplishment and aha moment came shortly after Nevaeh was diagnosed. If I had given up on growing through my own challenges and played victim, I would not have been emotionally, mentally, or physically equipped to support Nevaeh when she faced her greatest challenge. I wouldn't have been able to support her and encourage her to start speaking her own I ams if I hadn't practiced them myself. Each challenge is part of your story. Own it and share it. By you sharing you just never know how someday you might inspire someone else and to help them grow through their own challenge. Each challenge is equipping us for what God has planned next. That should be exciting. That should be exhilarating. When I've said this a few times to my sister, I'm like kind of on the edge of my seat now, like, okay, God, what's next? Like leaving Ryan and beginning this new chapter, it's really hard, but it also really excites me because I know that God has something planned and I can't wait to see it. Each challenge is not a reason to give up, but rather rise up. And each challenge is preparing us for the life that we have yet to live. So lean into the season that you might be finding yourself in, or in time, if you are finding yourself in a season of challenge, lean into it. Embrace it with an open heart. Position your heart in that way where you're open to receiving and accepting the change and the growth that you'll experience in it. Don't give up. Don't get in that stuck mode. Grow through it. And we will be here to celebrate who you are becoming through the process. So that's that, my friends. Short and sweet. How do I get back to just you guys? There we go. Okay. That's that. Talkie Amy kept this one short. But does it, oh goodness, the chats are like blown up. Will you share these books again later? Yeah, I really need to like piece together a lot of the PD that I've been particularly leaning into recently. And I'll share that in the team page. I've been finding some really good ones in regard, like faith-based business related, like entrepreneurship, female stuff. So I'll share that too, because that's been really powerful in feeling confident, that holy confidence that I said, in moving forward with this business. And like Sire and I, we've said this a few times, I don't, it's weird. And I guess it's a God thing. Like, I don't doubt success. Like, will I succeed? And will this work? And like, I don't know. There's been this shift, especially this year. And I have a feeling it's related to the personal development that I've been leaning into, that it's been different than I've ever read before. Yeah, I'll get a list together. But this was the tipping point. This really started the transition of redefining success, is this book. You're Made for a God-Sized Dream. And then this is it's a 40-day devotional that they coincide with each other. Opening the door to your God-sized dream. But any question? You guys can unmute yourself, because otherwise I'll be scrolling. Yeah, Ashley, success is different for everybody. And I think once we get to that place of accepting that and being okay with defining our own success versus feeling like we have to have that success that we might see out there, it's freeing. It really is freeing. Any questions? No? Okay. Well, that's that then. Hold on. Gotta dig deeper into PD2. Yeah. Well, I guess that's one of the reasons why it's vital behavior. It's one of the key things that Beachbody really presses on us. And I get it. And depending upon what season you are in, lean into personal development that meets you in that season. I'm notorious for reading to get whatever it is that I needed. And then I don't finish it because I'm like, oh, I feel fulfilled. And then whatever season that I'm in, I'll find something that fits that. I'm really notorious for not finishing personal development, but fill your cup, right?
A couple things to your scale.
So, Amy, I have a question. When you feel yourself like doubting, right? Because I just feel like that's a innate, like, human thing. Like, what do you do? How do you overcome that when you're like?
That's where the boundaries come into play, big time.
Okay.
Put on my oxygen mask first. For me, I don't know what might stir up the doubt that you have, but for me, it's come from the comparison game. That's where,
okay.
When I'm comparing myself, that's when all that doubt starts to get in my head. And that boundary of, well, what am I allowing in that's making me starting the comparison game?
So what makes me nervous is the fact that like you're not.
But I like, not to sound all like, honestly, since doing this prayer challenge, which a lot of you have been a part of it, the Draw the Circle, reading the Circle Maker, reading these 2 books, and like truly like taking in who I am in God's image, not worldly image and worldly goals and this and that, and like pressing into it, into my faith, into the clarity that and the direction that I feel God pulling me right now. I like don't have doubt. Sire and I, like, we don't know what the hell we're doing half the time, but it's really exciting. I can say for the first time, I don't doubt what I'm doing. He will guide me through this. And in my way, I'll be successful. So, I don't know. I'm telling you, those 2, reading that Circle Maker, I did a fast too this year. And let me tell you, when you set a boundary, a relational boundary, and you stop allowing certain things into your circle, that's really freeing too. So that's been a big life changer for me. But pray about it. You've been in the prayer challenge too, where if doubt is surfacing, that's just the enemy speaking, to be honest. That's the enemy trying to stop you from the fire that he knows is starting to burn inside of you, that you're like, yeah, and then not today, Satan. Right? What was a great idea? Oh. All right. Yeah, the comparison game. And that's part of living in a social media world now, right? It's going to happen, but you have to guard yourself. Know your triggers. That was another thing that we talk about with our clients too, to help them kind of have their breakthroughs in whatever it is what are your triggers in regards to the comparison game? What are those things that you know have set you off in the past, and guard yourself from them, and don't allow that in. And redefining success. I think once you redefine what success means to you, then what are you comparing to anymore? Who are you comparing it against? So, well, this was fun. I want to do a boomerang click, and then we'll hop off, I guess, if we don't have any questions.
Amy, I don't have a question, but I think something that you do so well, that I know I can learn from, and I'm sure others maybe could too, but when you go in on something, you go freaking balls to the walls all in. And I so respect that and look up to you for that. And it's contagious, whether like you're someone like me that knows you, or maybe a stranger on the internet. And I think it shows through your feeds, it shows through your story, shows through your heart. And I think that's just so powerful as a leader, as a mom of 2 girls. Like, it's just very inspiring. So I think if you haven't seen that from, or don't follow Amy, that is one thing you would definitely get from following her. And I think I aspire to do more of that. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. That good, give me all misty eyed.
Do your boomerang, but I just wanted to share that before we ended.
Yeah, let's boomerang this. Ready and well, thanks, ladies, for letting me share my heart. This was actually kind of therapeutic, given the season that I'm in right now, that it was kind of a good opportunity for me to reflect and to kind of like, okay, how can I get through this one? And continue to rise up, right? So anyways, let's just continue to lean in with each other too. That's one thing that's really powerful about this community, is that we're not alone. So when we are going through tough times, let's share about it. So we can pray and lift you up and whatever, and just know that you're never alone in this wild, wild journey called life. But anyways, you guys have a beautiful night. Please don't hesitate to reach out with any questions, personal development stuff. I'm more than happy to lend suggestions. And yeah, that's that, friends. Have a good night.